So many people get attachment science wrong, and it's ruining relationships. I've been training and working in psychology, relationships, and attachment for well over 16 years now, and I have heard some horrendous lies and misunderstandings that people really believe. Lies that are ruining even savable relationships and leading to terrible breakups and heartache for good people. I can't stay silent anymore. It's time to debunk these myths once and for all. I'm Adam Lane Smith, the attachment specialist. I worked for many, many years as a licensed psychotherapist. Now I bring coaching and attachment science to everybody on the world who wants to learn about it. I am here to fix the lies and misconceptions that so many people are believing, because there's some terrible information out there and we've got to correct this. If you're somebody who has always wanted to learn more about attachment and relationship psychology, but you weren't sure what to believe, this video will break down the 5 worst myths about attachment science being taught by pop psychology accounts all over social media. I want to use my professional experience and knowledge to help protect you from making some of the biggest relationship mistakes that other creators unfortunately will encourage you into. So let's get right into these 5 myths. I want to show you where they're coming from, why we believe them, and what the real truth is. Myth number 1, and this is a terrible one. If you love them just right, their attachment wounds will heal. Where does this come from? Romantic media teaches that love can save someone. You've seen 1.5 million romantic movies in your lifetime. You know that love is supposed to save the person from themselves, even against their own objections. It can come from a childhood fantasy of being the rescuer or being rescued yourself. Therapy speak can be twisted into magical thinking, like earned secure without nuance, right? If I just speak well enough, they will change. It's also a fawning mechanism from anxiously attached people, quite often, who got used to having to learn to push good buttons by making people happy and overgiving, and eventually, somehow, it would come back around and they would finally get their need met. There's a lot of Instagram memes out there saying your love can reparent them. Reparenting your partner, right? This is something I cringe whenever I hear. It's not right. You shouldn't be reparenting the person you're with. It's also misunderstood trauma content, implying that your consistency alone is the cure. It's not. I will teach consistency here in my videos and being a safe area for your partner to come to you and calm down, but not once have I ever taught that being safe, calm, and consistent will fix the other person's attachment issues. They have to fix them themselves. We'll talk about that. It also comes from watching early improvement in your partner. As you change and you reflect and change and they reflect you a little bit, and you're assuming the arc will finish without effort from them and their decision. Most women with attachment challenges come to me trying to fix a partner, assuming that if I just teach them to love, if I teach her to love him well enough, he will transform magically like Beauty and the Beast, the kiss that changes the frog into the prince or the beast into the prince. Right? It's not how it works. Most of you might be listening thinking, well, that makes sense, but why do so many people believe this? That's where it comes from. Why do we believe it? Partly because it feels good to believe that love is enough. It's a desire to feel needed and special, that someone will transform for us as well. It's a hopeful mindset that helps us endure mistreatment from others. If I just keep trying, I must not have done right enough this time. I'm going to keep going. And that's probably programming from your childhood to caregivers, by the way. It also mistakes initial progress for permanent change. Well, yeah, they made a shift. If I just keep trying harder, then it will keep going. We also confuse emotional labor with emotional intimacy. If I keep pushing into the emotional labor, that is emotional intimacy, or I'll get it through that intimacy comes from labor. It's also easier to overfunction than to face that the other person may not be ready or willing to heal. It's just easier to overfunction for 20 years than say, okay, this isn't going to work. I should find somebody else. For most women who come to me, they get angry if I tell them it sounds like your partner does not want to change and probably is not going to. They actually get angry at me because I'm in that moment causing hurt. I'm making them confront something that sounds so awful and terrible. They get angry because I'm making them confront it. Now, what's the real truth? Attachment repair requires internal ownership, not just external care from somebody else. They have to face their own pain and their own patterns. You can't do that for them, okay? Your love can offer safety for them, but your love doesn't offer transformation for them. They can choose to transform in that safety, but it's not your love as the mechanism. Being a safe partner creates opportunity. It doesn't create certainty. If they don't step into the work, nothing will truly change, okay? Over-functioning in the relationship and over-giving, hoping to rescue, creates an imbalance, not a healing moment. It just enables them. Loving harder while they avoid fixing their issues just deepens the gap. You become a caregiver, not an equal partner to them. Trauma roots, especially, are deeper than kindness can reach alone. They might need coaching, therapy, nervous system work, or grief processing before they can really feel your love properly. Their receptors might even be blocked for oxytocin. Real change takes effort over time. Attachment rewiring happens through repeated actions on their part, not your repeated sacrifice. So let me be clear. Without a consistent follow-through from the partner, you will end up exhausted and depleted. Said another way, love is a container. It's not a cure. Love can give them a safe environment to begin growing and changing in, but it's not going to change them or make them grow. You can hold space, but they have to step in and build with you. Otherwise, you're loving a version of them that they don't want to become. And that's going to cause you a tremendous amount of heartache. Now, myth number 2, also pretty heavy. Attachment wounds only come from parents. People ask me this quite often. Adam, do I only get attachment ever from my caregivers? No, actually, that's not true. But where does this belief come from? Early attachment theory focused heavily on the parent and infant bonds, and we still do. I teach a lot of that myself, is that your attachment comes primarily from caregivers, but Bowlby's work, originally back in the day, it emphasized caregiving, and yes, it's incredibly important. Pop psychology now oversimplifies attachment as mom and dad damage, and that's it. We hear mommy wound, daddy wound, right? Father wound, mother wound. I hear that all the time. We oversimplify into that when we don't understand the deeper mechanisms at play. Therapy language like inner child reinforces a parent-centric narrative. And I'm not saying that inner child work in IFS, for example, is wrong, but it overemphasizes it to people who don't understand the nuance. A culture obsession with reparenting that we currently have also excludes adult trauma. It's all the kid stuff. It's all the kid stuff. It's all the kid stuff. You're just stuck forever. Freud, famously, right, his early stages of life. We don't hear much about Carl Jung, his other person that came out who was actually dissociated and banned from his structure. Jung said we are growing and continuously changing throughout the course of our life, even into our 70s and 80s, and there are life stages going on. We completely shoved that to the side and focused purely on Freud's psychology focus of kids in the early years, only, exclusively. Okay. We are obsessed with this as a culture. Online tests and memes reduce everything to childhood origin states as well. And again, I want to be clear here. Your childhood origins and your caregivers do a lot. But why is it so easy for us to believe that it's only our parents who impact us? Often it's because childhood feels like the most obvious root cause. We can point back and say, well, I remember this time my parents screamed at me for crying, so now I'm not able to cry anymore. We can usually make that connection. It's also easier usually in the moment to blame distant parents than to confront recent relational pain and have conversations about a betrayal from a friend. And it feels more linear. If I fix the past, I'll be secure now. If I can go back and cry on a therapist's couch for 3 years and pay $40,000 and just cry, or 10 years actually is what most clients go through, 10 years of past examination about my emotions, then eventually I'll be okay now. I just have to fix then. Right? We're obsessed with time travel movies. This is part of the reason why. Early wounds, yes, they do leave deep imprints, so we assume they're the only imprints. The denial of impact from adult betrayal, abandonment, or neglect, it actually feels protective. I had this pretty awful partner, but the problem's really my dad. No, it's all of it. All of this really, we believe it because it overlooks how dynamic and ongoing attachment really is. And people want to say attachment never changes once it's fixed at age 5. No, that's absolutely not true in any way, shape, or form. Okay? So the real truth is this. Attachment is a lifelong system, not just a childhood imprint. Your brain and your nervous system, they continue adapting to relational patterns across your whole life. Toxic partners, betrayals from friends, ghosting during the dating life, emotional neglect from the people you care about, these all rewire your nervous system. Yes, it can and probably does begin in childhood, but it continuously is impacted and reinforced through your life. And it can actually shift. You can have a good childhood and an absolutely overwhelmingly painful trauma that shifts you very hard. What feels safe or threatening will change with every major experience that you have in your life. That's how trauma works. Romantic trauma hits the same circuits as early attachment wounds, so it links back. The brain doesn't necessarily separate childhood pain from adult rejection. It registers danger. The brain doesn't say, that's childhood problems. These are adult problems. No, these are human. These are me. Breakups, abuse, repeated emotional abandonment, they can reignite childhood patterns or create entirely new ones. I see plenty of people who grow up in pretty difficult, stressful family circumstances that then leads them to aim toward unhealthy partners or be vulnerable to them, that then get within horrifically broken, damaging marriages that then get vastly worse. And we don't just say, oh, it's your childhood. No, it's like, whoa, look at this. Look at this thing happening right now, or that just happened. It isn't just your childhood, it's the whole pattern. This is when I sit my coaching clients down. We do a big picture. This is where it began, and this is how it got worse, and these are some of the major points as well. So all of these are trauma components that are fitted in. We need to challenge and fix all of them. Adult relationships usually reinforce or rupture secure attachment issues, okay? It makes it worse. Friendships, workplaces, even bad therapists. I've seen that a lot. They can inflict more wounding. So attachment is not limited to romance or parents. It's about any bond where trust, safety, and emotional availability matter. I've worked with a lot of executives who actually have some massively primary relationship traumas coming in through professional means where they were betrayed or turned on in a company. So I know that attachment is everywhere. Betrayal in trusted relationships at any age creates new survival adaptations. So repairing attachment is not just about parent work. I don't have people come in and say, let's talk about your dad for 6 months. It's not about fixing what they call father wounds or mother wounds. It's about relationship work. Rebuilding safety happens through living better relationships, not just revisiting your childhood. That's almost useless in many cases, okay? Sometimes it does more harm than good. You need new experiences of consistency, empathy, co-regulation, trust to reshape your system. Attachment is fluid. Damage, repair, it can happen at any stage. My oldest clients come in at 79 years old. Haven't had anyone in their 80s yet. If you're out there, let me know. But oldest client being 79 years old still fixed it. Second oldest client, 78, terminally ill. Okay. People can become insecure after secure periods, post-divorce or betrayal. People can also become secure later in life through bonding, repair, stable relationships, and doing that work. Very key that you understand this. I get asked all the time, what is my attachment style? What is my attachment style? What is my attachment style? So I have finally launched the attachment assessment. This is not a short quiz that just spits out an answer after 3 seconds. This is a thorough, in-depth, science-backed assessment. Check it out on my website, adamlanesmith.com, and learn your attachment style, the severity of what you're dealing with, and some next steps you can take right now to build very secure attachment. That brings us to attachment myth number 3, that secure attachment is a destination to reach. Now, where does this come from? That secure attachment is something, you got to do it, log it, you check a box, and bing, I'm magically, for the rest of my life, glowing, golden, happy, completely and totally fulfilled, and I will never have a problem again. It comes from a number of places. Sometimes it's the idealized happy couples we see on social media. If I could just reach that level, if I could just get secure attachment, everything would be perfect and I would be so happy. Look at them. I would live so happy and perfect like them. It's misunderstanding what secure actually means. Online therapy means show that secure equals peaceful, right? That's what most creators are showing. If you're secure, it's peaceful and perfect. The overuse of green flag talk. A lot of people, I post about red flags. People say, show me more green flags. Well, I hear you. You're trying to reach a place. You're trying to embody these things. But then you want to reach a place where you are only ever showing green flags ever. And then if I can just show enough green flags, I'm good enough. And I'm over the line. I'm solid, right? Many people, that's the case. There's a belief that repair reduces and removes all conflict. That's not the case. We'll talk about that. And there's an assumption that security means zero baggage. Also not true. So why do we believe that secure attachment can do this? Well, it's the same reason that people want to believe in a utopia that they can go to someday, right? People want a conflict-free fantasy. They want a magical paradise they can go to. If they just work hard enough, I'll get there. Secure sounds like a finished product. I want to be finished and I want to be good enough. It mistakes calmness for perfection, right? They assume that attachment repaired people never feel triggered again. They think that secure attachment means never making mistakes or having bad days or being grumpy. And the media doesn't really show secure couples navigating real tension. Have you ever noticed that? We don't really see good couples go through a conflict, fix it, and then do better because it's not inspiring media. It's not going to sell tickets. It's not going to sell clicks. You can't put a Pepsi ad in the middle of that and have people come back halfway through because the arguing is so low, right? It doesn't work. Nobody wants to see a secure couple go through real tension because it's so calming and just manageable. It's like, oh, they had a slight little blip and then got on with their day. Boring. Hard to eat popcorn to that, folks. That's why we never show it anywhere. All we see is the catastrophic stuff. If only I couldn't be catastrophic. If I could do anything but catastrophic, I could be okay. Now, the real truth is that secure couples still argue. They still misread. They still get hurt. They still have bad days. Fights still happen, even in healthy relationships. I'm a big fan of saying fighting isn't normal. We shouldn't be fighting, but they still happen. You get mad, they get mad, you're both stressed out, your kids are sick, maybe your child has cancer, you're both at each other because you're just stressed out and haven't slept in a week. So many things happen, even for securely attached couples. Accidents happen, traumas happen. Someone you both love dies in a car accident, and now you're both stressed out and don't know how to manage it. So at first you get it wrong. You fight, then you have to repair and come back and fix it. That's the secure attachment component. Misunderstandings, though, bad days, triggers, they still show up. Being secure doesn't mean you're flawless. It means you care enough to repair. What changes is the speed and the method of the repair. Secure people make repairs faster. Not perfect, faster. There's less blame. There's more ownership. There's more, I hear you, than you always do this. Emotional safety allows conflict without the fear of rupture. So you can go into the argument and say what you need to and then fix it. You can say hard things without fearing abandonment. Secure partners, they stay present even when it's messy. Arguments don't turn into breakups or emotional warfare. Put another way, secure attachment allows for honesty, not perfection. You can admit mistakes without losing love. There's space for truth instead of just space for good behavior. It's truth, even not messy truth. Being real matters more than being right. Triggers will still happen, but they're handled together. They're not hidden. Old wounds, you'll have them. They still get poked sometimes. There's an old saying, and it's very true, that no parent is ever perfect. We all mess up our kids in some way, sometimes catastrophically so they can't connect to other humans. Other times we just have little triggers that annoy them. They can get worked on. Instead of spiraling, though, they name the issue and then they walk through it together. Secure love, it doesn't erase triggers. It builds tools to deal with them and really repair. It repairs and then builds resilience instead of resentment. Every repair becomes a new layer of trust together as a couple. Working through your pain together creates stronger bonds as a couple. You start to believe we can survive hard things together. Let's say it another way. Peace is not the absence of struggle. Peace is how you face the struggle together. Calm doesn't mean that nothing ever hurts. Peace is two people showing up again and again and again. Secure attachment means facing storms as a team, not pretending the skies are always clear. In short, attachment is a spectrum that you manage throughout your life to keep yourself in the secure window with your decisions and your actions. Keep coming back to it. Myth number 4, and I face this one a lot. Attachment theory is just pop psychology. Now, where does this come from? When I started talking about attachment on the internet years back, almost nobody would discuss it. And I've noticed now, since I've grown across all my channels, I've got something like 700 or 800,000 followers now, buzzwords of attachment are suddenly being thrown everywhere. I've seen articles people send to me now of big news media accounts sending out, oh yeah, did you know your attachment style can change, from sites that would never talk about attachment or relationships before? Okay. We have oversimplified quizzes and videos. Take these 5 questions and we'll tell you your answer really quick, right? We have so many untrained people who go learn about attachment from somebody else and then just go open up their own account to parrot everything back the way they heard it. There's life coaches just casually using it inaccurately who don't have adequate training. It's a trendy relationship content piece, by the way, that just lacks substance. If you want clicks, go online and talk to anxiously attached women and demonize avoidantly attached men. You will get millions of clicks, and then you'll burn out really fast because all you connect with is really angry people that want to spit on avoidant people. And that will burn you out pretty quick if you have a soul or a conscience at all. So really fast ticket. I've seen a lot of people come and go through. They come to me, they learn about things, they run away, they talk about how evil avoidant people are, and they get a lot of clicks, and then they flame out really fast, sometimes from like mental breakdowns because they can't handle things anymore. So labels like avoidant are used as insults on those channels. Okay. Infographics that just skip the science completely and they just want to make it feelings, feelings, feelings. Unfortunately, there's a lot of people that take their attachment style and turn it into their astrology sign and say, this is who I am. That's why I've had to talk so much right now about fixing your attachment. Fixing it. Guys, it comes from a lot of bad information. When you look at the field of attachment right now online, it makes sense why more discerning, concerned people may not want to trust it when the things they're hearing are coming from some concerning sources. So why is it so easy to just dismiss attachment theory then when it's so grounded in science? We'll talk about that in a moment. Partly because it looks like astrology for relationships. That's how it's been presented quite a lot, unfortunately. It's rarely presented with any actual fact research. It often lacks credibility when it's delivered poorly, especially by a 19-year-old girl who has 3 kids and is like complaining about her latest breakup and then starts talking about how this guy like is totally an evil avoidant and they're all the scum of the earth, and the comment section is full of angry women who are like, yeah, you go girl. Like that's presented badly. And then of course no one wants to listen to that. So they disregard it and say whatever she's saying is useless. That happens unfortunately a lot on TikTok. It's easy to dismiss if you've only seen mentally unstable presenters using it. Okay. If the only people you see talking about attachment are mentally unstable people, it sounds crazy. It also feels overused or generalized. I have people come in to my account sometimes on Twitter and say, you just think attachments are related to everything. Well, yes, but I also don't think it's necessarily the only piece of the world. I just know that it connects to everything. So let's talk about that. Let's talk about the other pieces. It also doesn't sound clinical at all without the neuroscience attached. That's one reason a lot of people that you guys come into the comment sections and tell me the neuroscience is so fascinating and you want more of it. And that's why I keep presenting more, because there's so much linked up here. Okay. So let's talk about the real truth. Why is attachment theory not just stupid pop psychology? I know that a lot of the people watching this show right now have had attachment issues for their entire life. That's why I want to invite every single one of you to check out my attachment repair program. It just might be the jump that you need to go from insecurely attached and lonely and frustrated to fully secure, connected, and bonded in a great relationship like nothing you've ever felt before. Check out my website, adamlanesmith.com, for the attachment repair program. So first, right off the bat, is that attachment theory is based on 70 plus years of clinical research. Actually, almost 100 years now. John Bowlby started and he presented the theory fully in the 1950s. It was real science, not pop psychology, but he'd been building that for 20 years before he presented the theory itself. Ainsworth came along and proved these attachment patterns in lab studies with infants. If you look at all of her studies, it's fantastic and amazing. There was so much research done around this in the 1950s, 60s, 70s, and 80s. And even into the 90s. Once Bowlby died, we lost a lot of research push, and people they dropped it for a long time, unfortunately. But there was so much research conducted. Secure, anxious, avoidant, disorganized, all of these are actual measured patterns. They're not imagined. They're not astrology signs. These are real, actual, factual data things that we can look at. Attachment science now tracks the neurological, the hormonal, and the behavioral patterns and matches them up to these individual survival patterns of the people that they're exhibiting, okay? Avoidant brains, for example, go emotionally numb under stress. That's one thing that we know. Brain scans confirm how attachment styles operate, whether it's your vagus nerve shutting down to protect you, Broca's area, the speech center of the brain shutting down to go numb and freeze, or whether it's the overactive amygdala and the underformed prefrontal cortex of the anxiously attached person. All of these brain scans can be confirmed. It's backed up by brain imaging and stress studies. We know for a fact that insecure attachment messes with our stress systems like the HPA axis, and it shreds our stress system. It destroys it. Cortisol stays higher, longer after fights in people with insecurely attached issues. We can track that, okay? Our secure bonds calm the brain faster under pressure. We can track that too. Now, attachment theory is used by, I'm going to be careful here, some well-informed therapists and trauma clinicians and researchers. It's taught in real psychology and trauma programs. Okay, the best informed ones use this. Unfortunately, it's not taught very often because it's a behavioral program. It's not one you can plug into the medical model and just start throwing chemicals at. And that's one thing that American psychology has shifted toward. That's one reason people don't hear about attachment issues, either in their clinical training or in their work with a psychotherapist, is because it's not a medical model of you have a disease, let's fix you with medication and then manage the symptoms through therapy. That's one core problem that a lot of people experience. Look, attachment challenges, even if it's not spoken of, it forms the core of methodologies in psychology like emotion-focused therapy, emotion-focused couples therapy, internal family systems therapy, and many trauma methods, okay? It's not just TikTok that does attachment. It's used in clinical offices by informed clinicians every single day. Attachment also measures long-term relational outcomes for us and mental health outcomes. Early patterns in your childhood predict adult love, divorce, emotional strength. We have ACE scores, for example. If you look up ACE scores, you'll see how attachment relates to long-term life longevity and how you're probably going to lose 20 years of life expectancy from severe attachment damage in childhood. Very common. Minnesota studies and other studies track this from birth to adulthood. We've seen it tracked across thousands and thousands of individuals. These patterns stick unless we change them on purpose. Now, attachment science also explains how love and fear shape our bonding. For example, oxytocin in childhood builds closeness. Vasopressin helps build commitment and trust. We can track these measurements in these chemicals. We actually can administer oxytocin to individuals and then track the behavioral changes and understand what it looks like and does and how it compels them to act differently. Fear of abandonment actually fires up your brain's pain centers. Love and fear both shape how we attach. So when an anxiously attached person feels that terror of abandonment, we can track that in the brain as pain. Attachment science connects deeply with real-world emotional dynamics, but also cutting-edge research being done in laboratories right now. For example, the disorganized style is tied intimately to extensive childhood trauma, where fight and flight and fawn and freeze had to be intermingled back and forth to adapt to a parent caregiver who was vastly inconsistent and threatening at the same time. So they'd get intimacy, get while the getting's good, run away when they're getting angry. And if they couldn't run away, they have to flip to fight or fawn and approval seek or freeze. And then this affects your vagus nerve in your chest, your brain structure formation, everything. Your brain actually reforms and grows and matures in specific pathways related to your caregiver relationship. It affects how we argue, how we connect, how we show care to other people. Attachment damage shows up in daily relationship behavior, even professionally. And it's validated through childhood to adulthood studies. We've studied this, guys, across decades. If you look at studies like Dunedin and NICHD, it proves this over decades. Now, early attachment predicts school, emotion, and adult stability. Your stability in school, your stability with your emotions, your stability as an adult. If you look at early attachment patterns, they track out. The link is long-term and it's backed by real, hard numbers. This research is available to everybody online. Attachment science also explains how early caregiver patterns shape your brain's development. Good bonding wires the prefrontal cortex to be calm and regulated. Inconsistent care builds fear pathways in the amygdala, the fear response. Anxiously attached people underdevelop their prefrontal cortex because they don't believe they even have the power to shape how they feel, while avoidantly attached people overdevelop their prefrontal cortex and inhibit emotional expression, so they can't actually give in to their whims, but they also can't share their emotions because the brain shuts it down and stops it. Your prefrontal cortex, by the way, grows till you're 25 years old. All that growth up to 25. Childhood conditioning teaches your brain what to expect from other people and then shapes your brain accordingly. Attachment science is integrated into many trauma recovery models. EMDR, for example, and body-based therapies often bring in attachment work. Let's resolve the attachment issues and wounds you experienced, fully resolve them through neurology, and then the trauma will disperse. Healing old bonds is part of healing trauma. The polyvagal theory also shows us how safety rewires our nervous system over time. It shows up in cortisol, oxytocin, and HRV data. Secure people's stress, for example, fades faster after fights. Insecurely attached people, your stress lingers on purpose. Touch and care, they raise oxytocin levels. They literally build bonding in your brain. You have almost like a meter that you can almost track. And it's expressed outwardly as compulsive giving and love for others. Insecure types, though, they show a lower heart rate variability, less resilience. Their heart can't go up and down. It's always up, high. Attachment then predicts relationship health, parenting style, even immunity. Did you know that we can link attachment issues with fertility? There's whole clinics that operate on this. Actually, my friend Jessica Preston, she's running a clinic right now, which beats IVF rates. Even if you wash out of IVF, you can go to her clinic and work on attachment together with your partner, as well as some other components that she teaches. And you can actually beat IVF with a higher success rate after IVF has failed. Attachment science can still improve your fertility beyond. Secure bonds help your immune system function better. You're less likely to have cancer. We know that. Stroke, heart attacks, heart disease. Insecure bonds are tied to worse parenting and more conflict in the home. We know that. Attachment patterns affect your body, your emotions, your feelings, your life experience, your life expectancy. They affect everything. We can measure all of this. All of this research is available online, and I encourage every single person to go study the research yourself. I'll bring as much of it as I can here to this channel, but there is so much more to learn. So don't ever let anybody tell you that attachment science is just pop psychology. It is cutting edge science that is reinforced every single day with everything we're learning in laboratories right now. And finally, myth number 5. Your attachment style is fixed for life. Where does this come from? Early attachment theory emphasized childhood imprint, okay? Online tests will tell you now what you are. This is why I fought against having an online quiz for so long. I didn't want people to take it and then say, okay, that's who I am forever. Influencers now online package attachment as an identity. We are anxiously attached, right? Labels like anxious, they feel permanent. This is one reason avoidantly attached people don't like being told about attachment theory. You're avoidant. No one likes that. And it's actually not even accurate. You exhibit avoidantly attached patterns, right? Relationship patterns, they feel repetitive. They feel stuck. It feels like they're not going to change. And the self-help language assumes that you're wired this way forever, so you just have to make do with it. That's where a lot of this comes from. Now, why do we actually believe it, though? Even if we hear that it's not true, even if places like The Atlantic, for example, the newspaper, are now running articles even saying that it's not true, why do we still believe it? Well, it's because change feels slow. It feels discouraging sometimes. It's hard to notice small emotional progress, especially if you're tracking it on your own without like a coach or a mentor helping you. Your nervous system defaults back multiple times. It feels like a personality issue. As you get stressed out, you keep doing the same thing as you say, well, I guess that's just who I am. We confuse our emotional wounds with our core identity. I am a person who experiences pain, limit. Negative patterns seem to repeat endlessly, and we track what hurts. Pain is very, very trackable. And finally, securely attached people seem like a different species. Quite frankly, they seem like they're weird creatures out there who are magically, those happy magic unicorns you see frolicking in meadows occasionally that run away when you try to approach. It feels like you'll never get there. Again, a secure attachment as a line that you need to cross to enter into the unicorn frolicking. Like that's the part of the problem too. How we view secure attachment at all. Now, the real truth is that your brain is highly plastic and adaptive. Brains are always learning and changing, even in adulthood. Is it harder to change an adult brain? Maybe, but it still can change. We know that even up into your 70s and 80s. Old emotional habits can be rewired with new patterns. Safety and consistency, for example, changes how you respond to your environment. So new patterns of safety reshape your neural wiring. Calm moments build new brain connection for you. Feeling safe rewires your panic and your shutdown responses. Trust grows in the brain through repetition, not through theory. Learning attachment, okay, great. You learn attachment. You watch every video I've ever made on the planet, and you sit alone in a dark room and never speak to anybody ever again. You will not fix your attachment. So it feels like it's stuck. But when you go out and you start having repetition of healthy, good interactions with good, healthy people, not even perfect people, just good interactions that reinforce safety, now you begin to change. Oxytocin, cortisol, the vagus nerve, they all respond to consistent input. Oxytocin rises with affection, turns out, with eye contact, with kindness. Cortisol, the stress hormone, drops when we feel emotionally safe. The vagus nerve learns to calm the body with steady love. The core of this, though, is the belief and the truth that secure traits can be learned. They can be practiced. They can be reinforced. Nobody is born perfectly secure. They learn it. They either learn it as a child or they learn it as an adult. Healthy boundaries and communications, they're teachable. New habits stick with enough progress and practice and connection. Emotional regulation skills reshape your attachment reactions. Your breathing, your grounding, journaling, some of these things, all of these calm those inner storm moments. And naming what you're feeling rewires how you respond over time. Small regulation wins that you track up, they add up over time. You need to be tracking them, by the way. But relationship safety creates new emotional experiences when you lean into them. Being loved well teaches your brain a new pattern. Now, going back to myth number one, that doesn't just make you instantly fix. You have to want to do it and lean into it and start doing the patterns yourself, not just receiving, but then reciprocating. But safety rewrites what your nervous system expects and believes. The body starts to relax when love stops being a threat. Say it another way. Growth takes effort for sure. And it can be discouraging at times, but the system can absolutely change. Even if change feels slow, it's real and measurable. Even deep, deep damage can repair with the right care. Nobody is stuck. Attachment is a system. It's not a life sentence. Now, as the attachment specialist, I confront many of these myths every day with my coaching clients. A lot of them come in believing some of these half-truths or full lies, and we have to overcome these limiting beliefs so they can finally achieve the growth that they've been seeking. If you've believed any of these before watching this video, I want you to know you're not alone. And now that you know the truth, you can move beyond these misconceptions into relationships based on truth, fact, and scientific proof. Now, if you're here watching these videos, it's because you value the truth. And I personally encourage you to think over these myths again, maybe even rewatch this video and take some notes, and then decide what you want to do differently in your relationships going forward now that you know the truth. If you believed you could love someone into healing them, what will change about your approach with more challenging individuals starting today? What will you do different? If you thought that this attachment journey was a sprint towards secure attachment and then you'd be good, and now you realize it's a lifelong commitment, an experience that you get to share with other people, who will you invite into that journey with you tomorrow? Even as we've cleared up these 5 myths today, that's great, there are still so many other false beliefs that may be holding many of you back. And that's what attachment issues are, after all, is trauma responses. They're false beliefs that limit your ability to give and receive love. Seeking the truth is a lifelong adventure. So if you're ready to learn more about what you need to feel safe in your relationships, if you want to build passion that lasts a lifetime, and if you're ready to seek greater truths to bring greater life satisfaction, it's time for you to take full advantage of all the free resources that I have available on my website, adamlanesmith.com. You absolutely must take my attachment assessment quiz over there to help identify your attachment style if you don't know it yet. Or get your free copy of my attachment styles guide and access a huge resource library on my blog, all for free. Head over to adamlanesmith.com or click the link in the description below to access your free resources and break free from attachment and relationship lies forever. I'm Adam Lane Smith, the attachment specialist. If this video has been helpful, please make sure you like. It helps tremendously. Subscribe to the channel if you're not already, and drop a comment below. Which of these 5 myths actually hit the hardest for you? Let me know.